I'm going to speed up the video in this to twice the speed so you don't have to sit through a half-hour lesson. Notice I have sketched in the bottle ahead of time, but it's very faint. You can barely see it. You can erase the lines after you finish sketching it in to make sure you can't see them when you do the painting. And remember, with watercolor, you always want to start light to dark. So your initial painting should be have a lot of water in it. It should be very light. The other thing to remember is that any places that you want to remain white, you need to leave as dry paper. So that will have to be planned out ahead of time. For example, that white reflection that's in the bottle, I don't want to get any paint on that. Now, painting, unlike drawing, is not as precise with detail. And so, you know, it's not going to be as perfect as you might get with a drawing. And with watercolor, there's really no erasing once you've started the painting. So if there are any mistakes, you just kind of have to work around them. Now, this is just a demonstration, and even though I'm speeding this up to twice the speed, even at regular speed, I was going probably faster than I should have. So just, you know, go slow, take your time, think about what you're doing. Now, it might look like my hand is resting on the paper, but it's not. My hand is kind of resting on my pinky, which I'm making sure is not touching the painting. I don't want to put my hand or any part of my hand on the actual wet part of the painting. So it's kind of hard to see, but right now my pinky is kind of sticking out, and that's what I'm using to rest on. So right now I'm just kind of painting in some of the darker areas, or basically putting in the first layer of the entire bottle. The only thing I'm leaving out right now are the areas that I know I want to remain white. Again, make sure you have a piece of paper towel or something handy so that if you do get some paint in an area you didn't want it, you can use the paper towel to pick that paint up while it's still wet. If you accidentally splatter the paper, as I just did there, you can get some damp paper towel and pick most of that up. Again, as long as you do it before it dries. As the painting dries, I can go in and start putting in my next layer. As soon as you notice that there's not a shine to the paint anymore, that means it's pretty dry. So we're starting with the lights, and then, like I said, gradually you add another layer, it becomes darker. You add another layer, it becomes darker. Think about which areas you want to blend and which areas you're going to want a very sharp and clean edge to it. If you want a sharp and clean edge, you need to make sure that it's dry before you add the next layer. If you want it to blend, you want to make sure you are painting the next layer before it dries. If I really wanted this to be absolutely perfect, I probably would have drawn out all of the shapes ahead of time. Not a huge fan of doing that, as careful as you are, pencil lines always end up showing up. Since I know I'm painting a bottle and most of what I'm painting are just reflections, I don't have to get the shapes of the reflections perfect, as long as I'm getting them close. If you do accidentally paint over some spots that you wanted to be white, again, you can go in with some clean water and a paper towel and pick up some of that paint. If you're careful about how you store your paintbrush and how you clean your paintbrush, when it's wet, it should have a pretty good tip to it that allows you to paint smaller details. Each layer, we're getting darker and darker. If you get impatient and you want the bottle to dry faster, you can blow dry it carefully between layers. You don't want to blow dry with the blow dryer too close to the painting. It can damage the paper. Another thing you can do is with a very clean paper towel, once it's sat for a while and you're pretty sure it's close to dry, you can blot any excess water off of there without picking the paint up off the painting. Be patient with it. Just add small amounts at a time. It's not a race to see who can finish first. You just want to be patient. Put the layers in where you see them. While you're painting, you might want to create a workspace where the painting is directly in front of you. I'm actually painting this with it off to my right side. And I'm starting to notice that because of that, there's a little bit of a tilt to my painting. It kind of leans to the right just slightly. You can always make an area darker. Once it's dry, it's very hard to make it lighter. Go slow, be patient. If you're happy with the bottle, go ahead and put in a little bit of a background, something so that the bottle isn't just sitting in white space. Use a color that is going to contrast a little bit with the color that you used. So if you used blue, you could use a very, very light orange or yellow. If you used a purple, again, you can use a very, very light orange or yellow. Same with red. Keep the background very light. If you want, you can kind of give an indication that the bottle is sitting on a table by painting the back edge of the table. If you do that, you want to make sure that the back edge is higher than the bottom of the bottle. Otherwise, it'll look like the bottle is falling off the edge. Okay, it was fast. That kind of gives you the general idea. There's 3 bottles for you to choose from, each one progressively getting harder. Pick the one you want to do.